Question number 29 on the reading portion of College Board's Test 4. Which of the following does the author suggest about the female goats mentioned in line 59? So suggest, again, not directly stating it, but implying it, heavily alluding to this unsaid, unspoken conclusion. So let's identify the female goats in 59. Let's figure out what that's all about. The company scientists took the gene for human antithrombin and injected it directly into fertilized goat eggs. Then, they implanted the eggs in the wombs of female goats. When the kids were born, some of the kids proved to be transgenic. The human gene nestled safely in their cells. Okay. I don't know what they're suggesting about female goats, but let's read the answers and figure out if they're true or not. Let's just make it like a graph answering question. Is this true or not based on what we read in the past passage? Female goats secreted antithrombin in their milk after giving birth. Good, bad answer, but not true. Remember, what was the timeline of events in this experiment? They took the gene for human antithrombin and they injected it into fertilized goat eggs. They then took those embryos and then they implanted them into the wombs of female goats, of the mothers. When the kids were born, some of the kids, proved to be transgenic. Just because you implant embryos of transgenic animals into the mother does not mean the mother, the female goat, produces antithrombin. So what does the author suggest about female goats? They did not secrete antithrombin. Some of the kids secreted antithrombin, but the mother did not. And that makes sense because just by injecting, your kids don't determine who you are as a mother. So that's not going to be, genetically at least, that's not going to make any sense with A. What does the author suggest about the female goats in 59? Some of their kids were not born with the antithrombin gene. Ooh, this is a mental gymnastics that we need to deal with. So it says that what does it say about the female goats? When the kids were born, when the embryos that had antithrombin in them were born from the female goats from the mothers, some of the kids that came from the female goat proved to be transgenic. So what does that imply, or what does that suggest? If some of the kids produced antithrombin, that means that some of the kids were not born with antithrombin. It's a logical, I guess it's just a logical, exclusion. It's saying if some of them were transgenic, that implies or suggests that some of the kids were not transgenic. That's a good answer. That's going to be it. What about C? What does the author suggest about the female goats mentioned in line 59? They were the first animals to receive microinjections. And one last comment about B, especially right on the heels of C, to realize why C could be tempting and why some of you guys might have picked that. B is very confusing. And as a result, you have a tendency then to shut it out in your brain. Out of sight, out of mind, right? Get rid of it, and maybe then it will not be the right answer. But that's not how the world works. You can't just shut out things that you don't understand, and those things disappear then. B is going to be the right answer. So whether or not you get rid of it or not, it's still the right answer. So don't make yourself feel more comfortable in the moment by getting rid of something that makes you confused or makes you not understand something, just so you have the satisfaction of feeling good in that moment. You're inevitably going to get the answer wrong, right? That's ignorance in a bad way. So B is confusing, right? It makes you feel bad. But then you look at C, they were the first animal to receive microinjection. You might be tempted to pick that because you're like, I think they did use microinjection. I remember that term. I remember they did that with the embryos. Yeah, sure. And your logic is like 70% on it. You don't really understand the full 100% of what this answer entails. Be very cautious of words that say first, last, never, always. Those types of extremes are ones that have to have extraordinary proof in order to verify that claim. They were the first animal to receive microinjections. Is that true? No, they were not the first to receive microinjection because what do we know? To create a special herd of goats, line 54, GTC used microinjection, the same technique that produced glowfish and aqua advantage salmon. So they used a technique that was already used in glowfish and aqua advantage salmon, which means that they were not the first animal to receive microinjection. Get rid of C. What about D? Which of the following does the author suggest about the female goats in 59? Their cells already contain genes usually found in humans. What? This is going back to, notice how they're trying to thread answer choices together that are all wrong. Go back to 27. the wrong answer, which is fine, is true antithrombin. It occurs naturally in goats' mammary glands. And then all of a sudden you're going to pick their cells, right? What does it suggest about female goats? Their cells, the female goats, already contain genes usually found in humans. They're trying to make this connection in several wrong answers that these goats magically already have this cell or this gene in it, when in reality, humans went through great effort and expense and length in order to make these and engineer these animals to be this particular way. So no, the female goats, the author does not suggest that they have cells already in humans. That's exactly the whole point of this experiment. These guys are engineering these animals so that they produce human elements and genes in them. The answer to number 29 is going to be B. If some female goats produce kids that were transgenic, that means that they produced some kids that were not transgenic. The answer to number 29, what does the author suggest about the female goats? Some of the kids were not born with antithrombin, B.